this is Stampy, and welcome to a behind the scenes of the finale of My Lovely World. In this video, I'm going to go into detail about a variety of different aspects for how this episode came to be, as well as a lot of kind of the special episodes in My Lovely World, how they're created. So if you do want to keep a bit of the mystery and the magic and not know how the cookie is made, feel free to skip this video because I will, as I say, be going into pretty good detail about how these sorts of episodes come together. So right then, let's get straight into it. I guess the big thing is kind of just the concept of the episode, and that was decided a long time ago, like maybe like 5 years ago or something. I'm not sure exactly when. And when I talk about that, I mean the actual overall ending, like the final shot and like the actual kind of like last, I guess, 3 minutes. I was pretty certain I knew that's how I wanted it to go, as well as the title of the episode as well. I knew I wanted to call it Thanks for Watching. I thought that was just a nice, simple title that kind of summed up what it is. It was pretty clear to everyone that this would be the final episode, I think, by that title. And yeah, it just sounds quite nice. So that was all decided from a really long time ago. I also knew I wanted a bit more of an old school fight with Hit the Target. Like I wanted to like hit the target. Like I wanted to like shoot arrows at him, you know. I didn't want it to be like, oh, he's built some gadget that I need to break or something. You know, I wanted to like be running around my town, running on rooftops and like shooting arrows that hit the target, kind of more similar to how early Hit the Target episodes were. So I managed to get that in. But what I didn't know was everything in the middle was kind of decided a little bit more later. Like how was I going to add tension and drama throughout the episode was what I didn't know until much sooner. And then the other thing is I needed to ensure that I didn't have too much of a build-up. Like normally anytime I'm doing a special, I'm leaving hints about what the special will be a long time before it happens. Say if Hit the Target's going to attack me with a bunch of polar bears, maybe I'd start seeing snow around my world or a polar bear cub, you know, whatever it is, I would leave hints that this is what's coming up next. I didn't want to do that too much with this one because I knew there'd be a lot of people returning to this episode that might not be watching my episodes regularly, and so that means that any of that build-up they probably wouldn't have seen. Like I'm pretty sure the majority of people that watched this episode hadn't seen, say, the last 5 episodes. So I didn't want to focus too much on that stuff. I wanted this to be kind of like a standalone episode that anyone who watched it would at least have a good understanding of what's going on, and I'd explain any other small details in my commentary throughout the episode. But then the other big thing I needed to work out was the love garden. There was always the big question of who is the final person I'm going to add to the love garden. And I didn't know how to do that. First I was like, do I just pick something that's like really good and special? But then I didn't want it to seem like, oh, that this is better than anyone else. And I really didn't want to do the whole put down a sign and say everyone has been added to the love garden, because it just kind of ruins its meaning then. It's like saying, oh, everyone wins an Olympic gold medal. And it's like, well, that's nice, but like the gold medals that anyone had won before are now almost meaningless. So I didn't want to do that. And so the way I kind of compromised and did something in between was I just added loads of people. And I think it just turned into a really nice bit where I kind of fake out as if like I'm adding one person or I add one group. And then I'm like, and I'm also adding this person and this person and this person. And I keep going through. And it just sort of gets across just like the variety of the things that like people have sent me over the years, and a lot of the ones that I added were really cool, and it's just a nice moment to kind of celebrate all of like the community of My Lovely World, because that's been something that I've always tried to do through the years. So having like a big like section in this video just celebrating the community was something that I was really happy to do. So yeah, we did the love garden bit, and then kind of the start of like the Hit the Target section is when I go to the post office, and I'm receiving a bunch of letters from someone with the initials VD. And I do one of the things that I always love doing in my episodes is like the viewer knows something that Stampy hasn't realized. Like the viewer at this point is probably like, oh, VD, that's probably Viva Dash. But I think Stampy doesn't actually even like notice the VD. He just thinks it's from someone random. And I always like having it where like the viewer knows something that Stampy's apparently oblivious to, and everyone's kind of shouting at their screens going, what do you mean? It's obvious. And Stampy's like, oh, I'm just having fun eating cake. So I got to do one of those, which I always like doing, especially when like, especially back in the day, I'd get a lot of comments from people that don't realize that like obviously I know I set it up, and they just are so invested in the storyline and the character that, you know, they kind of are taking everything at face value, which I like. The whole thing about me mentioning, I keep getting letters, but I haven't been bothering to check them. So that actually wasn't intentionally leading up to this episode. So there was there was a chicken that was inside the post office, and I think it had a lead tied to it next to one of the fence poles, and it kept just accidentally walking on the pressure plate, which meant sometimes when I ran past the post office, it would be basically saying that I have a letter, and it was basically just whether the chicken was randomly standing on it or whether the chicken had laid an egg on it or something. And that's something that I'd realized, and I was like, I could make the most of that. I could pretend as if, throughout the years I've been getting these letters that I haven't been checking, and it almost makes it look like I was super clever and I was setting up this episode from years ago, but I wasn't. But I guess I was quite clever for deciding to incorporate that. But yeah, I get the letter from Hit the Target. That's when things get serious. That's when the music starts coming in. That's when the saturation decides to drop and the contrast goes up, just to kind of mark, we're getting a little bit more intense here. There's not too much to say about the music. People really like the music. I just look through royalty-free libraries and try and find music and spend a lot of time matching it up with the action and making sure everything lines up perfectly and it fits tonally. It just takes a lot of work looking through and buying a lot of that royalty-free music. That's kind of like the biggest budget spend, I guess, for one of these episodes. But I don't have a composer. I'm not custom doing it or anything. I'm just spending a lot of time picking the right songs and putting it in the right place from a variety of different websites. But yeah, then I get to Hit the Target, and Hit the Target does his slow, dramatic turn, which was really good fun. I just like kind of playing up the drama of that section. Things like, there's the joke when he starts putting down a sign, and I say something like, it's not 2013 anymore, we're not talking by placing signs, which is almost like a bit of a dig at myself, because that's what it'd be, this big dramatic episode, and then would be waiting for someone to write a sign for ages. So that things like that, those lines that I really like, are often pre-planned. So I don't script my commentary for these videos. I'll have an outline, and then we'll do the action, and then I'll do the commentary after. So whereas for one of my normal episodes, I'm obviously playing and talking at the same time, for most of these episodes, not all of them, but certainly kind of the ones, I'd say for the first half of them, I did live commentary, and then I realized it's much easier for me to be fully focused on the gameplay and then directing the actors while I'm playing, and then doing the commentary after. But then the actual commentary itself is unscripted. So I'm just watching the gameplay and I've just memorized everything that I do and I'm talking through it. And in many ways that's harder, but in other ways it makes it a little bit easier and a little bit more consistent. And sometimes I do both. Sometimes I record the commentary live, and if it doesn't go well, I re-record it. But that's only for these special episodes. But then, as I said, for specific lines like that, I will often make a note of a line I want to say, just to make sure I say something along those lines. So yeah, I go down with Hit the Target and Barnaby. Barnaby nearly gets knocked into the lava. That was an accident. That was not a pre-planned moment, but I love it, because anytime I really want to raise the tension, I always just put a dog in danger. And it sounds really mean, but if you think about it from the viewer perspective, they know we're playing Minecraft here. They know if I die, I'm going to respawn. I've kind of used that as a plot point, as a gag. It's in I'm really panicking and I died. I'm like, oh yeah, I'm back, I'm fine. It's Minecraft, it's not real life. But if a dog dies, they're gone forever. So anytime I want to add real tension is I do something with dogs or mobs, because they're a little bit more unpredictable. So I kind of just like the danger that Barnaby was in there, because that was very real. The panic was real. If Barnaby died there, that would have been the end of that take, and we would have reloaded the save. You can't really fake that. And then, yeah, entering the Nether was very intentional. So I always like to try and get checkpoints when I'm recording these episodes, because they often take quite a few takes. And if I did the whole episode, that 20-minute video in one take, if something goes wrong 18 minutes in, we have to reset and do the entire thing again, which can be a little bit painful. I'm very conscious of the time of the helpers that are helping me out as well. So yeah, going into the Nether was a good checkpoint, because basically we go through the Nether and I basically have to quit the game and I make a copy of the world, and that's basically a checkpoint. Back on the console edition, it was so much easier because you could exit without saving. So on the console edition, I would have just saved. That would have been my checkpoint. And if something went wrong, I would then exit and just reload the world. That was for when Bedrock was coming out and I found out I wouldn't have exit without saving. The reason I was so adamant that it should be added and stamping my little feet about it was because it would make these videos so much harder. And it did, especially for this next section, because the next section was the battle in the arena. And this section took no less than 28 takes for us to get the one that we were happy with. So there's some footage here from my view. There's also going to be some footage from Squishy's view, who was one of the actors. The other two actors for the majority of this episode were Sophia and Jamie, who have played Minecraft helpers for quite a while and a variety of different characters. They kind of would end up playing Hit the Target and Viva Dash and other characters as well. And we would keep switching around, but it's been different over the years. Like there's always people are so weird with helper stuff. Like people are always like, oh, we found out who the helper is. I found out that Polly is this. And the reality is these characters have been played by many different people over the years, and it's kept on changing. And some people would, play them for a longer time. Some might only play them every now and then if we need like an episode with more people. But I intentionally decided to turn them into characters rather than having actual people. For one, I think it helped with storylines because like I could say Polly is like this, William's like this, Fizzy's like this, and then no matter who's playing them, then they'll have a consistent character. I also just like them not being tied to like real people. Like I like them being just existing inside of my lovely world. And then also just like the logistics of filming, like people's availability. Like if the same people were kind of playing these characters every time, like if they're busy or they just don't want to join, like it's fine, like someone else can play them. So that's kind of the reasons I switched over to kind of having these fictional character helpers rather than as it was at the beginning when it was just kind of like, oh, I'm recording, if anyone wants to join, just join my world and be in the background. Like back in the day, they couldn't even hear me. Like I would just be talking and then everyone would just be doing their own thing. And if it kind of lined up with what I was doing, that was good. But it's changed a lot here. Anyway, you're seeing quite a lot of these takes playing out here. We had to do this for a very long time. I had to make a lot of copies of this part of the world. So the thing that you might not kind of consider is that there's kind of a few main ways for this to go wrong. The obvious one is I die. The other one is if my helpers die. Obviously, that's no good. And the other thing is if we win too easily. Like, that is as bad. Like, I want this to be dramatic. I wanted this, as I said, a big group of mobs is very unpredictable. It's very hard for me to control. So if I'm there with, like, half a heart, and there's skeletons and zombies around me, like it's kind of hard for me to fake that. Like I'm not using mods, I'm not invincible. Like that adds real tension. Whereas if I'm fighting Hit the Target and I'm weak, it's like, oh, Hit the Target could just like accidentally miss you or like stop shooting you. Whereas skeletons don't play ball with that. So one of the things is there was quite a lot of takes that could have been fine, but I was just like, you know what? I think I just did too well. So there was a lot of balancing about how many mobs do we spawn, how many do we start with, at what point do the helpers come in to make sure that, I would be kept really, really weak and struggling, but I wouldn't end up dying. Or I didn't want to make sure that, we just win too easily and it's just a boring part of the video. So we did have one take that was like almost perfect, but Squishy could kind of tell that I wasn't 100% happy with it. And I'm really glad that they said that because we ended up going back and doing it again. And they kind of put their foot down saying, you're not happy with that, are you? And I was like, no. But I felt bad because we'd been obviously doing this for hours at this point. But everyone was very patient and nice. So thank you to Squishy, Sophia and Jamie for allowing us to do so many takes to get it right. And then the final take was really cool because it had the moment where I accidentally broke the scaffolding and we all fell down. Hand on my heart, I promise you that was not scripted. That was the only time that happened. I was just focusing on so many things at the same time. I was just stupid and accidentally broke the scaffolding and dropped everyone. And at the time I was really angry at myself because I was like, oh no, that would have been a good take. But it ended up being an even better take because of that drama and the stupidity and the silliness of it. So that ended up working out really, really well. And then we eventually make our way out, and then I'm kind of running back to the doghouse. It's kind of one of the forgotten moments of these specials is there's a lot of me running to places. in these episodes. Like, think of how many times I'm like, I got to go to Hit the Target's castle. Like, Hit the Target's castle is quite far away. So I need to find, like good filler stuff, like something to talk about that doesn't kill the tension, but also explains the story, because a lot of the story comes through my dialogue. Like, if you watch this in silence, it might be a little bit confusing. There's a lot of me like, oh, Hit the Target must be trying to do that because he wants to get this. And as if I didn't say that, maybe some of the players would have assumed it, but I kind of really need to put that in there. So this is my time to kind of do that. But I run back, and then then this is when there needs to be a costume change. So this is when some of the characters need to change to be Hit the Target and Viva Dash. And so anytime someone changes skin, it comes up on the top of the screen that they've changed skin. So we needed to find a way to cut that out. And so the time I decided to do it was when I was going up a ladder. And so, as you can see, as I'm going up this ladder, you can see it comes up that they're changing skin. And then I can go back down the ladder, wait for the text to go. And then if I go up again, it basically means that I have a very easy bit to clear, like to cut it out. And then you won't see that there's been a transition to a different cut. So that's kind of the way I end up doing stuff like that. Sometimes I zoom in on the screen to cover it up. But yeah, that just means that the screen's a bit zoomed in and you can kind of notice it. If you like scrub really quickly across a lot of my videos, sometimes you can see the screen zooming in and out, and that means I'm covering something appearing on the screen, someone either changing skin or someone lagging out the game or something. That's just something that we've learned to deal with, and that's the way we did that. And then we get to the battle with Hit the Target that I wanted. So I really wanted to focus on this battle being quite improvised, almost entirely improvised. So we knew where we wanted it to start. I knew I wanted it to be kind of bow and arrow fight, because that's kind of what Hit the Target's all about. And also, it's easier to do one of these fights with bow and arrows, because if we're hitting each other with swords, it's very hard to justify why would we ever stop hitting people with swords until they die. So the range fights work a little bit better. And then we knew, obviously, the bit where Viva Dash goes to Hit the Target invisible, but I become invisible. Like, that bit was planned, because that is the justification for the fight ending without one of us dying. So the battle went okay. We did quite a few different takes. There's takes where I died. There are takes where Hit the Target died. There was quite a few different versions that we ended up going with. But overall, I'm pretty happy with the one that we ended up using. I liked us all at the top of the hotel. There's a bit where I'm like, I'm looking. So Squishy was playing Hit the Target, and they were shouting out to me like, I'm on this rooftop. I'm on this rooftop. And I just couldn't find out where they were. And I kept looking in the distance trying to find them. And then suddenly they were like right next to me and attacking me. And it genuinely made me jump, and I panicked. And I kind of like played that up in the commentary as well. But that was real. Like, that was a genuine, like, we were just trying to fight each other, and then when one got weak, we'd call it out, and then our aim would suddenly get a little bit worse. But then, I'll use the invisibility as the way to escape, and kind of I was able to go and sneak away. And then we did actually a whole take to the end of the episode there that I once again wasn't happy with, and we ended up doing the ending again. But yeah, I go to the castle. I can see Barnaby. I see like the little model. I always like changing Hit the Target's castle in like every one of these episodes that I go to it. There's either some addition or some change. So I was like, well, in the basement, I think last time I went there in the basement, he had his version of the Love Garden. So I knew I wanted something different. So I did the idea of he had kind of built like a miniature of the Colosseum as if he was like designing it. And so I come across that, and then that also gives the justification for how they snuck past me without noticing me, because I kind of come up as they're going there. So I put on the armor and I go out, and then this is like the big moment. This is like the confrontation and I guess the speech. So the final speech was mostly pre-written. You can probably tell because like you can kind of tell just the way I'm speaking that I'm reading from a script rather than talking. Like, you can probably tell this episode, I'm not reading from a script, I am just talking. But I'm not an actor. Like, sometimes in these episodes, I see comments going like, oh, his acting's like so cringy or is so bad. It's like, yeah, it's because I'm not an actor. Like, I'm a YouTuber. Like, I've never said to be an actor. Like, I've always just been like silly, and I like doing it. I love kind of overacting with like these sort of things and like panicking and screaming that it's hit the target, even though like it's a video game. We all know it's a video game. Like, every part of it's silly. So, yeah, I do wish maybe on some of these more heartfelt moments I was able to make it sound more natural, but then like the words I write down are genuine, and me kind of constructing the script is, I guess, is where the meaning is, rather than me kind of writing it out. I am a little bit disappointed about how this bit go, and I only think it's because I didn't give myself enough time. And that is one of the downsides of when you aren't doing the commentary at the same time. Even though I did kind of speak out loud the speech, I think I never give myself, I always do this, I never give myself enough time. And I think this part comes around a bit rushed. I think after like all of the fight in the Colosseum and we've hit the target and it's all action, 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 and then we get to the castle and then it's quite of a sudden like, wait, that was it? Like we have like this quick speech and then like it's ending? Really? Like that was quick? I wish I allowed myself a little bit more time to speak to Hit the Target and Viva Dash and Barnaby and to kind of say the same kind of things that I did say, but just to pace it out a little bit slower and not give the viewer whiplash. So that is one of the things, looking back at this episode, I'm a little bit disappointed with. But yeah, that's basically it. That was the plan that I had all along, was that I was basically going to have the realization that there are things more important than this world, and Stampy's got the memories of everything he did there, and he's got all of his friends, and that is what matters more than the actual world. And there's obviously metaphors there in terms of the YouTube series, and, you know, me continuing to make more videos isn't what matters. It's the memories that everyone had for the whole time that was going, and we can leave with all of those, and that's kind of what matters. And then I guess people can decide for themselves who they thought won, me or Hit the Target. You know, you could say technically Hit the Target won, he got what he wants, but then we all leave and we're a group of friends and he's kind of just left there in this world that he didn't build by himself. So yeah, you can kind of take from that what you want. But I guess before that final shot, there's the montage. And I found this music, once again, just royalty-free music. I just looked for a long time and I fell in love with this song and I was like, this is perfect. Originally, I was going to use the intro music and I ended up not using it. One, it was a little bit too short and I didn't want to loop it. And also, it just didn't tonally fit. Like, it had like the nostalgia value because obviously it's a song that people have heard a lot. So I think I could have made it work, but I think the song I ended up choosing worked better. And these sort of montagey moments, which I very rarely do in Lovely World, like I very rarely cut in Lovely World. I always like doing the single perspective from me. And I always feel like there's sometimes like I see sentiment of like, oh, Stampy's videos are quite like lazy or easy because he just does like one take with commentary and he doesn't add much editing. It's like, dude, that's so much harder because when I cut, all of these times that I would have had to do a bunch of takes, it just doesn't matter. Like when you can cut around, it's like so much easier than trying to do it all in one big long take. So you can see some footage here. I think Squashy was playing me during this footage, and yeah, we basically went around. It was a good excuse to kind of just show a bunch of my world, both some old things, kind of just for like the nostalgia value for those that were returning, just like, hey, remember this place, remember this dog, remember this, like, remember the mini golf course, and then also just to show off some of the new areas that people that may not have continued watching. I wanted to give some glimpses of some of the newer things that I've been building within the last few years. So yeah, we do the montage and then it's time for the final shot. So I just got a group of friends in, all people that were able to join and dress up in skins to play all of the different characters as they're all walking off into the sunset. As per usual, as you can probably guess, it took quite a few takes to get it right, just to get the timing. Like one of the problems is in Bedrock is the distance in which you can see like characters, like players and mobs and stuff isn't very far, which meant that like everyone would like disappear like way too soon. Like I wanted to hold on that shot for longer and you really see people walking far away, but I couldn't really do that. So I had to get the timing just right. So as I'm like turning the camera, they're close enough so we do get a good few seconds seeing them walking away. And then every time it went wrong, we'd have to break away all of the snow because of all of the snow golems leaving the snow everywhere. And another bit that I messed up on is I was meant to be riding Harry. So I had a shot that I had already recorded where I go and get Harry and I ride off with him. And the idea was I was going to be on Harry, the horse, and everyone else was going to be around me. But with all of getting everyone joining the world and stuff, I had forgot to ride Harry. And so I had to reshoot the bit with Harry where I opened the trapdoors or the fence gates and I just like released Harry. So the idea was he's just running free and he can join us or not, which I didn't like as much. It kind of works quite nice because it's like, oh, we're letting him run free. But I did like the idea of, I don't like the idea that I took everyone apart from Harry. But yeah, that's just one of these other little niggling things. Like I could go through and point out loads of little niggly things that I don't like, but I really want this to be more of a positive video rather than me saying about all of the little bits that went slightly wrong or things I could have done better. Because overall, I am happy with it. Like I'm not a perfectionist. And I never have been. And I never even liked that attitude, because if every one of these videos I try to make it perfect, I'd spend so long on it. And overall, I'd make so many less videos and I wouldn't improve as quickly. And I think that I much prefer come up with an idea, make it, go to the next idea, rather than like come up with an idea and then spend like ages getting it exactly perfect, because you just make less stuff. And I think that's less interesting and less fun. But this one does hit a little bit differently, just because like normally I'd do one of these videos and whatever I didn't like about it, I could be like, oh, it's okay, I'm going to do another one. I can address that in the next one, or I will carry across that idea into the next one. Whereas this was like the final one. So all of those little bits that I wasn't completely happy with, like going to stick with me a little bit more. Like I was really worried that people were going to be disappointed with this episode, that they expected it was going to be something bigger or something more. And I think maybe there was some of that. I think people liked the very, very ending. I think they liked the montage and us walking off. And I think people did enjoy the rest of it, but maybe they were expecting a little bit more from me. But I think, like, to be 100% honest here, like, one of the reasons I decided to end My Lovely World is because I didn't want to do it anymore. Like my motivation had dropped so low, and it goes up and down like throughout the years, and depending on what I'm doing, sometimes I have an idea for a specific mini game and I get all excited again. But overall, like I got to a point where I kind of just didn't want to be making these videos anymore. And that was the mindset I was in when making this episode. And I kind of had to force through it, because I wanted this to be a special episode and I wanted a nice ending and I wanted an actual ending. I didn't want to leave it too open as if, oh, might be back in a few years, like I wanted to be like, no, it has ended. And so I think I did achieve that. But, I wasn't in the same mindset that I was, 10 years ago when I was starting off doing this and it was all exciting and new. The truth is I want to do new things, and I am doing those things, and I'm having a great time. Anyway, sorry, I kind of went a little bit off topic here. But yeah, that's basically how I made the final episode. There's probably a few little minor details, but if you do have any more questions or anything else that you want to know about, feel free to leave them in the comments down below. I will 100% be going through and trying to reply to any ones. If I don't reply to them, I either didn't see them, or for whatever reasons, I don't want to answer that question. So yeah, thanks so much for taking an interest in this. Hopefully you did enjoy the finale. Thank you for all of the support over the years, and I will see you later. Bye.